on that policy on my life. And then I'll freely associate with those who agree with us and not agree. And those who don't, you go to them with Romans 12:9. Hate evil, cling to good, but how? With love and kindness. That's an American society. That's why we're here. Thank you very much. But I'll be honored to answer any questions.
What about, what I see is that America's waking up. And how do we, from the different ages, whether they're young, middle, older, how do you get people together to understand what's going on and stuff?
Well, I started a group. I had a two-party group I started 5 years ago called Founders Truth, and I would go around. In fact, I spoke at your group, your Tea Party group, 4 years ago. It's information. But here's what I'm told. This right-wing, crazy Christian conservative cannot do this message. Well, let's go back on the numbers. Because I'm tired. I was born in South Central Los Angeles. I never knew the color of the skin of a person mattered. It didn't matter to me. We're all made. My mom just very simple who we are. So this message I've taken around the state. I think we've done over about 82,000 miles so far. In the last 4 PP polls, we're the only campaign beating Hagen all 4. I hate the hyphen America, but they use it in their poll. The PP polls are more of a Democrat-leaning poll. We had 24% of African Americans voted for this message. 20% of Hispanics. We're number 2 women behind Hagen and number 1 under the age of 28. See, this message is genderless, colorless, economicless. It's nothing that's that fancy detail. I do have the history there, but in your heart, in your gut, in your marrow, you know you were born free. And you also know, as our founders knew, men want to control other men. Our founders put a structure to diffuse power. When our president said, I have a pen and a phone, I'll use it, that's unacceptable. But where are the legislative people standing firm? There are 3 in the Senate, Lee, Cruz, and Paul. There are 2 in the House that I know, Amash and Massey. And they're laughed at by who? By Rove, McConnell, Boehner. I'm giving you something. I have the same thing said about me from Rove and those guys as MSNBC. So who are we? So I believe the message is simple. You tell your neighbor, you tell your friend. We go everywhere and tell this. It's social media. I think we have 65 or 66,000 on Facebook. A sitting senator and a sitting speaker of the House have 40,000. We have over 11,500 donations already. I know what this grassroots is doing. It is purely grassroots because the establishment needs us. My vote is not for sale.
We send you to D.C. What's going to keep you from selling your soul to the devil? Because so many of the people that we support and we get behind and we work hard, they get in there and they don't follow through with what we send them there for.
That's why I'm running number 1. I trusted nobody else ever again. Number 2, you have to do your due diligence and check me out. I've been OBGYN 21 years in Norton Carey, 20-something thousand patients, over 9,000 babies. My reputation's out there. My word is, I'm not, what I'm saying, the club up there doesn't like me much. Okay? What I'm saying is, the club up there has given money to tell us already. Okay? So what I'm saying is, I'm gonna continue delivering babies and see women on weekends. I'm coming home Thursday afternoon, going back Monday morning. That's what Rand does, and Ron did. I'm not a career politician. I'm a servant citizen, and I'm gonna be up there like this. That's why Paul, Lee, and Cruz, we primaried in their next elections by the Republican establishment, because that exposes them. All I do is give you my word, and have I given my word in the past? Because right now I'm being challenged as a liar. I'm being challenged. People call me pro-abortion. I'm the only private practitioner who wrote a declaratory statement and is expert witness on the Women's Right to Know Act, 2011. I'm medical director of 2 pregnancy support groups. I'm the member of the American Association of Pro-Life OBGYNs, and the rumors I'm pro-abortion. It's just they're going to attack. Because they will not discuss the issues. Again, in our primary race, I want to know, have anybody here read Obamacare? Because we're all saying, I'll be up there and I'll read a bill and I'll vote for it. Well, I read 2,000 pages. Is anybody else? I read Dodd-Frank. Dodd-Frank makes me, that's worse even than Obamacare, believe it or not. The introductory statement to that whole idea of Dodd-Frank was to fix the economic problem, right? It said, here's what their statement was, why the government had to fix this. It was because of the inherent instability of capitalism. We're not capitalism, we're cronyism. Pure capitalism, in 1879 to 1900, our country grew at 6% a year, 66% per decade, with a gold standard, free markets. So all I gotta do is come here and you squeeze me, touch me, drill me, and you gotta make that decision. That's why we go everywhere, because I was tired of trusting, and I will not sell anymore. And all I want two things. And I will never compromise on life, ever, ever. And I'll never compromise on the Constitution.
Talk about immigration and the border and security.
Okay. Goes back to a simple document. It's called the Constitution. Article 4, Section 4, the federal government's role to protect sovereign borders. My favorite document I ever read on immigration was written by a guy named James Madison. In 1800, a man named Governor Thomas Jefferson asked him to write a report for Virginia. You get a chance, you can Google it, it's unbelievable. It's very simple. We were built on legal immigration. I want people in here legally from many one. Our African American, Native American, Italian, Irish, English, that culture merging together made the American culture, which is what? Common language, common law, rule of men, rule of law, sovereign borders. You gotta protect our borders. Amnesty will destroy this country economically and our sovereignty. So it's unacceptable. They may call us cold-hearted, but it's just the opposite. Because how many people come here legally that want to have those kind of benefits? In Obamacare, illegal immigrants get it for free. See, this is the stuff that we have to ask these questions. We have older men and women who pay off their houses. You pay off your house, your mortgage, and you miss a tax payment on your house. You lose your house? They take it from you? Who owns your house? You're leasing it from the government? That's called ad valorem tax. That wasn't even a law in our country until 1939. So we have a charitable heart, I'm trying to say, but very serious. Like, I'll go back to Rubio's plan. He talked about that compromise bill, fix the borders. Don't get bought into what they're saying. That was going to be covered by drones. 150 miles inland from the ocean and the both borders. That means 85% of Americans will be surveilled under drones. I'm not guilty to prove innocent. I'm innocent. The Fourth Amendment says I'm safe in my papers and property and my persons. These things called general warrants, our founders said no to those. They have specific warrants. We have a board. We have technology. We have our Army brave men and women protecting the borders around the world, but not ours. It's got to be done.
You got 7 kids and you still seem like you're sane.
I have the greatest wife in the world. Sir, here's what this is. I did have a mom who was special. She passed away about 4 years ago from cancer. My brother also passed away 3-4 years ago in an accident. I got these little babies. Probably one of the unbelievable times, obviously adopting our babies in China opened my eyes a lot, seeing the birth of my babies. But I was in Africa, Gabon, the Congo area, and I went there just to teach medicine and Bible for 3 weeks. We had people line up for hours to see us, say thank you. And it was the other way. I learned more there than I ever taught. There was a man went there 30 years ago with a little clinic. He was a general surgeon from Cleveland Clinic. And that little clinic, with how he was led by the Lord, he now has a 3 OR suite in the middle of the jungle. For every one African surgeon, there's 2 million people. So what he did was, he opened a residency program there. He brings 4 in, so there's 4 years, 2 each year. And then he brings in specialists, cardiothoracic, gynecology, whatever. We have Bible study at night, and operate all day and all night, it's a clinic. And I'm there, watching pure individual ruggedness. And then I see the corruption of the governments. We got to get back to who we are. That true individual ruggedness can be done here and be the example. But when I see that, I cannot see my children or the babies I've delivered or whatever and go, okay, because right now we are on this precipice of who we're going to be. And in 10, 15 years, where was I in the fight for liberty? Was I playing golf? You know, was I, you know, I want to know what I did in this battle. I believe history's going to look back at this time and all my doubt. And I want to know where they're going to write my name. My name doesn't have to be a big name. It could be the guy who died in bunker we never know. It doesn't have to be the Madison and Jefferson. They're brave, don't get me wrong. But how about the men and women who did it all and you don't even know their names are? That's what we're going to be today. This time in history is going to be looked back upon. Do we stand for liberty, like Henry did, or do we stand for get along, be along, and compromise? Compromise has led to abortion. Compromise led to partial birth abortion. Compromise has led to over 55, 60, you don't get health care. And the Congress exempted themselves from all these bills. Our founders discussed that. Madison in Federalist Paper 57 said, that will never happen in America because Congress and their friends must live in the laws they pass. Hamilton said in the 38th paper, if a congressman ever does that, when they come home, arrest them. It's time we take this place back and then go forward. This lovely lady, girls always first.
I'm not trying to be funny here, but have you ever thought about calling Glenn Beck? That was a man that this week, I think he's from Mississippi, running for some.
It was today at 10 o'clock.
What?
He was on today at 10. Yeah, glad, we've already talked. It'll happen soon. I was on Will Cal a couple days ago. I was on the Blaze Network twice with Doc Thompson. Yeah, we'll be there soon. We'll be very soon. But again, Glenn, he stuck his neck out. My church, these guys, they see what they're doing is down there. They don't want to be used by anybody. This paradigm, this RD stuff is frustrating. We all know, again, like I said before, right here, we're born free. We know that. And we understand those people that are dependent on government, they don't want to be dependent on government. When they're told you can't succeed, that's what they listen to. When you start looking at social spending, for every dollar they take from us to give to help somebody out, only 13 cents gets the recipient. If your church did that, your synagogue did that, your temple did that, your Blue Cross, your Red Cross did that, that'd be unacceptable. When I'm down on my left, the person's close to me to help me out. I'm much better than some centralized government. See, centralized, top-down, anything destroys. In this state, do you guys like Obamacare? Then where do people stand for Article 6, Clause 2? Do you guys like Common Core? No. That became a law under Tillis May of 13. See, we got to blow these fallacies away. We have to understand who we are. We give our money to D.C. and beg for it back. That was under Nixon. EPA was written by Nixon. And we have to understand who we are and stop this pointing, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. No, let's get back to the Constitution. Bastia, in 1850, he's a French philosopher, loved America. He wrote an essay called The Law to answer Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto 4 years after he wrote it. And he talks about these social engineers. He called them witch doctors that want to take God's creation and, you know, put a horn through here, a foot through here, bend thing around. But if that child doesn't work, you throw it away and try it again. They have all these little social engineering plans, but the people doing it have no repercussions for those. None. He goes, we're not against education, health care. He lists a bunch of things. We're just against government run. Bum, 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 bum. Because it's this legalized plunder. And his last words were, we got to go, those are going to be thrown on the trash heap of history, and we got to go back where we never should have left. He said, we got to go back to liberty. And what is that? A belief in God and His works. When Henry said, give me liberty, give me death, you know what he's furious about? The tax burden was overbearing that England put on him. And he had 17 kids. It's 17 or 19, I always forget myself. So he needed every penny. You know what the tax burden was on Patrick Henry? That he'd rather go to war against the greatest empire the world's ever seen and might die than pay that overbearing tax ever again. Anybody know?
4%.
4?
2, I read.
2? Less than 1. Massachusetts is 2. Things never change. Okay, less than 1%. So 2% is Collins. We said, so we can't live that way, and they stood up. And today we have a party says, you should be taxed at 39%, and one party says you should be taxed at 49%. How about all of it's mine? Because here's important on taxes. This is really important. In the Constitution, in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1, it's called the Spending Clause. It limits the federal government how they could raise taxes. There's 4 ways: excise, duties, imposts, and excise. Those 4 ways could fund the federal government. Today, those 4 taxes still collect roughly 60% of all income tax, of all federal government taxes. That's roughly $1.5 trillion. They can't run a government on $1.5 trillion? So right there, the income tax, where does it go to run the government? A man named Ronald Reagan asked that question. He had a thing called the Grace Report. And he found out that the money they take from us at income tax does not go to run the government. It goes to pay interest on the debt to a private bank. And tomorrow, they ain't already topped out. They're going to capitulate on this fiscal cliff again tomorrow, and now do another couple $1 trillion. So in 10 years, what is the little girl back there? In 10 years, she's going to be responsible for $27 trillion. See, we're spending multiple generations' money. Multiple generations' money. We got to get back to a gold standard, which is in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 6, and do it the right way. We do that the right way. We blow away. Dodd-Frank bill, back to that one again. Jim DeMint got it audited. That part got it audited. We, not we, but the government who run the government, gave foreign banks over $3 trillion. Barclays alone got $868 billion. Ms. Hagan's on the banking committee. I can't wait to ask that question when we're debating. But wait, real quick, I may have a lot of some problems here, okay? But we have solutions to all these things. Mike Lee wrote a book on how to get back to health care. I wrote a paper on this in March of 10. It's called the Commerce Clause. 16 words on how you regulate commerce the correct constitutional way. There's roughly 100, 115 health insurance companies in America. What if all of them were in North Carolina competing for your dollar? Prices go down, quality goes up. There's only one right now, Blue Cross Blue Shield's in every county. And there's, I think, First Carolina's in 4. That's the exchanges. So the government picks winners and losers. That's not free markets. Mr. Tillis is for private-public partnerships. He wants to give the left lane of Interstate 77 to a private company. It doesn't work. See, these ideas got to be debated in the primary. They have to be asked.
How come Tillis is not debated?
Ask him. I'm sure he'll smooth. He may whoop my butt, but I'll be honored to be up there.
If things continue to decline, if they are not turned around, we're not afraid that they are, feel like they will be, but if they don't, could you ever see yourself as being in favor of secession?
Interesting. People bring that kind of stuff up, and MSNBC hammered me because they spoke at a group that talked about that, and this kind of stuff, little trivial group there.
You need to repeat that question.
Secession, is that an option? The first secession document was our Declaration. So it's American. But I don't think we're better apart. I think we're more of a perfect union than we are these 50 republics together. See, the idea of nullification is not to go apart. The idea of nullification is you and I hold each other accountable to the contract. See, I don't want to throw the baby with the bathwater because we've got a bunch of people that don't respect the rule of law. They use the Constitution to run every 2 years. I'm a conservative, or I'm a constitutionalist. Look at the oath, I keep it. Then they come back, if they come back to town hall, saying why they had to sign for a farm bill. You know, so that I believe historically is there. I believe it's a possibility because you're born free, but I do believe America's better under that rule of law, that we could be at a common defense and general welfare if it's done correctly. And I'd rather fight for that than fight for a thing that I don't think theoretically is going to happen.
What is your solution for the IRS?
Eliminate it. I go back to just what I said about the Article 1, Section 8 spending clause. The 16th Amendment, in the year 1913, destroyed America. You had 4 things occur that destroyed us. The 16th Amendment, I'll go over that in a minute. The 17th Amendment, which destroyed federalism. The Senate's job was to be the ambassador for the state. The state. So if the state, the ambassador could be called home if they overstepped their bounds. In fact, today, when I win, God willing, we win this thing, I'm going to practice if there is no 17th Amendment, that I'm an ambassador here. And I know if we had no 17th Amendment, Tillis would be the Speaker of the Senate. I would still rather have that, because if we put somebody in, the state legislators picked a man who was not ethical and did bad things. Your neighbor voted for him. You'd primary him and get him out. So they believed corruption would be less the more diverse it was. Okay, and then you had a republic in the Constitution is you want a lot of representatives for each person. So for every one representative, there's 30,000 people. In 1911, they passed a law and became the first election. Was 1913 was. Now there's only 435 congressmen. That's it. So now you have. It should be. We should have roughly 70,000 people in Congress. If it was 1 in 30,000, but it's not. That you have a very few. You have 535 people governing 310 million. That's not a republic. And you also had the Federal Reserve. All that same year came together, right? So, I believe that's why the fair tax, to me, is the best step.
Yes.
Because before you have a consumption tax, which I don't believe they need, but if you did, the first step was to limit the 16th Amendment, to limit the income tax. And it's interesting. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 5 and 6 says if you no capitation, mean no direct tax on your labor. It says it in there. The 16th Amendment does not counter that. You're supposed to have an amendment process to get rid of that. So it's pure slavery. Now I'm going to do one little historical thing. I named Robert Yates. He wrote in Federal Paper, I think, Anti-Federal Paper number 5, under the name Brutus. And they were discussing an income tax. They were discussing it. He said if we ever have a federal income tax on your income, we'll end up with armed federal agents coming to your house and taking your property and putting you in jail. That labor is yours. You have 100 acres of corn, and you got to go out there and do everything perfectly for it. Then take 45% of it and give it to the federal government. If you don't, you have to harvest it correctly at the time they want, or you get penalized or go to jail. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. This government has enough money to run if it does this stuff's constitutional. Now, I believe the money is the biggest issue of all. We've got to get back to a constitutional dollar. This is important. From 1792, we passed the Coinage Act, which said a gold and silver piece, exactly how much grains they each have in there. Our dollar over that 120 years increased in value 17%. So 1800.